You know that feeling when someone shows up for you just when you need it most? That's what Uber is all about. Not just a ride or dinner at your door. It's how Uber helps you show up for the moments that matter. Because showing up can turn a tough day around or make a good one even better. Whatever it is, big or small, Uber is on the way. So you can be on yours. Uber, on our way.
This is More Money with economist Steve Moore. Now, Steve Moore.
Welcome back, folks. This is the More Money Show. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so appreciative that we have such a great audience. Our ratings are very good, thanks to you. I get so many nice notes every weekend from folks in the New York area and around the country who tell me they love listening to the show, and I love listening to you, too. That's why we will be taking your callers. I'm a little frustrated. You can tell today I'm a little angry about what's happened to our country this week. And so I was thinking, who is the one person who can explain this better than anybody? And it is my longtime friend, Trish Regan, who is I'm such a fan of Trish. I first met Trish, I think, when she was at CNBC and was one of the smartest ladies over there talking every day about the stock market. And then, of course, Trish went over to Bloomberg for a while. Then she was at Fox and Fox Business News. And now she has one of the most popular shows on her podcast, which I'm going to do in sometime this week or next week. Trish, thanks for joining.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. It's always good to talk to you, my friend. And it's no joke. A lot of people listen to this show. I'll just say my husband was driving our daughter home from Irish dance practice recently. And it was last time I was on your show. And immediately after the show, I had hung up with you, and he's calling, and I'm thinking, well, thank goodness he didn't call when I was on the radio, because that would have been kind of tricky. He's like, oh, my gosh, I just heard you. That's so funny. Elizabeth
well, Trish, you're making my day. So I was telling in my opening little monologue, my little riff at the beginning of the show, my mission this afternoon, and you're going to help me with this, Trish, is to walk people off the ledge, hold their hand, tell them it's going to be okay, but also provide some advice to President Trump, because I think he needs some advice now about how do we turn this around? How do we get back to the bull market that you and I have lived through, that's America over the last 30 years or so? So what do you think, Trish? I mean, should people be panicked?
First off, I'm pretty simpatico with you in that, on the one hand, we do need some measures, right, to protect our U.S. key industries and to grow our U.S. key industries, high-tech manufacturing within the semi field, et cetera. I'd love to see everything that's over there in Taiwan back here with all the fab facilities in the good old U.S. of A. We need that. And I think economic policy can have a direct effect on that. Yet simultaneously, you don't want to cut off your nose to spite your face, right? And so I think for whatever reason, there was a hasty sort of effort to put something together. And I think what he could do, I'm going to give everybody a solution here. By the way, I was buying the market on Thursday. I was buying the market on Friday.
We're buying this weekend.
I'm still buying, right? Because I'm not betting against America.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's tremendous values. You look at, Amazon trading at 15 times earnings. You haven't seen that in a whole long time. So you have a lot of Mag 7 companies that are much more reasonably valued. And the downturn, has lowered inflation expectations, of course, because people think we might be in a recession very soon. So I get it all. But if you want a way out here, I think what he needs to come out and say, ideally before markets open on Monday, that, we're going to introduce, because nobody could quite get their head around this, and the media really doesn't understand tariffs and trade deficits anyway, and Wall Street freaked out because they misinterpreted. I think you could say, look, you kind of misinterpreted my goal here, and what we need to do is introduce a simplified tariff schedule. And what we can do is we can say, all right, 10% baseline for fair trade partners. So your fair trade is 10%, and then 25% for unfair trade partners. And that's where the subjectivity comes in, right? You can be very subjective and say, you know what, Switzerland, we're okay with you. EU, we really don't appreciate what you've been doing, and you're tariffing us, so until you fix that, we're not going to go for this. China, okay, we get some problems with you, But that gives you that negotiating leverage. So you could say, then we're gonna be subjective. And then all those high trade deficit countries that he's concerned about, you can throw them all in there, and you give them the opportunity to negotiate their way back into the fair trade bucket as a fair trade partner by making certain commitments, like they're going to drop their own tariffs to zero, or they're going to stop manipulating their currency, or whatever it may be. And it gives, I think, in that case, Donald Trump a chance to better explain the intention of these. And it gives Donald Trump an opportunity for some wins here, because there are countries that will want to do what makes him happy.
At Capella University, you can learn at your own pace with our FlexPath learning format. Take 1 or 2 courses at a time and complete as many as you can in a 12-week billing session. With FlexPath, you can even finish the bachelor's degree you started in 22 months for $20,000. A different future is closer than you think with Capella University. Learn more at capella.edu. Fastest 25% of students. Cost varies by pace, transfer credits, and other factors. Fees apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Greenlight. Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Spotify. Greenlight.com/Spotify.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
So I think, by the way, that's Trish Regan, who's one of the superstars of finance. And you know her from when she was with Bloomberg, when Fox News, and was before. How long were you with CNBC? Because you were with Larry, right, at CNBC for a while.
Yes,
and then
I hosted a show with Larry. A long time, I mean, maybe 6 years or so. And then 3 years at Bloomberg, where I not only did the Market Close show, but I was also the lead anchor on all their political coverage, which, by the way, was hysterical, because you know where I stand. And I'll never forget interviewing Gene Sperling, who tried to tell me that you should always be spending more as a percentage of GDP. Always, it has to go up. It has to go up. And I'm like, but why? Why can't spending actually go down as a percentage of GDP? You know, like my own family. Like, just because you get a raise, it doesn't mean you go out and buy a new car. I'll never forget that. You know, so there was. But you were always so gracious to come on my programs there.
Well,
and we're going to have you on the Trish Regan show this week. I would love to have you on. We'll shoot for that on Monday, maybe at 2 o'clock.
How do people access that podcast?
So you can go to YouTube, and that's really the best place. I mean, Apple Podcasts as well, Spotify Podcasts, but live every day around 2. I say around 2 because that's the flexibility of my my new life, right? My new schedule. But we've just had enormous success, which speaks to, I think, the sort of creation of this whole new media environment, which is just incredible and blows me away. And the response that we have gotten from viewers, I think, because, you know, they just like that authenticity and the truth. And I'm very, I'm very frank with people, as you are, Steve, and I have nothing to gain or lose in this, right? Like, my feeling is, all right, this may not have been the best rollout. I think a lot of people misinterpreted it. I think that you have a chance to negotiate. I think it's a heck of a buying opportunity, because we haven't seen, there's been like 4 times in history since 1952 where you've seen sell-offs like this. And let's set the stage for some better things going forward. So that's sort of my realist approach. I do think that it would help, though, if he offered some simplification guidelines.
So Trish, you sent
for these countries.
Yeah, you sent me right before you came on this article that I had not seen from Bloomberg, which the headline is Elon Musk hopes U.S.-Europe will move to zero tariff-free trade zone. I love that idea if Europe would go for it. And that would, in other words, what I was saying right before you came on, and we've only got a couple of minutes before we have to take a break, but is that let's aim our tariff weapons at China, since they're the bad actor here, and try to get free trade agreements with these other countries that are supposed to be our allies.
Right. That would, look, a lot of good could come of this. And I realize, look, you and I both know Donald Trump, and, I think we're both enormously appreciative of a lot of what he did and his tax cuts, et cetera, in the last go around. And he grew this economy in ways that we hadn't seen, especially for middle class workers, since really the 1950s. He had the opportunity to do that again. Mm-hmm. This, is a little bit of a stop along the way. But I think, what Musk is getting at, and this is actually a really good message for him to be sending out there in this conversation that he had with the Italian deputy prime minister. And, we have a good relationship, by the way, with the prime minister. She's terrific there in Italy. And if we could create this free trade zone with, hey, how wonderful would that be? Zero tariffs for everyone. And I actually think Donald Trump very much would respect that, and there would be this opportunity. So we need to look at this as, okay, the worst case scenario, right, has been set. And there are countries like China that are like, oh, we'll call your bluff. Well, you know what, China, I'm sorry, you guys can do that all day long. Yep. The truth is your economy probably needs us a lot more than we need you.
That is true.
Guess what? Hey. We're not going to, all right, we don't get so many, cheap little trinkets. We can't buy clothes for $1.99 on Shein anymore, but it's okay. It was all junk with forever chemicals in it to begin with.
Folks, that is Trish Regan, who's one on top of the business. Trish has agreed to stay over, and then when we come back, you cannot switch channels now, folks, because not only will we have Trish Regan, but we'll have the great Steve Forbes for a great conversation among two of the smartest guys and women I know, and we'll be right back. This is the More Money Show.
At BP, we've reset our strategy with a focused downstream, a growing upstream, and disciplined investment in the transition. See how we'll grow shareholder value at bp.com/reset.